So 2012, I think BenchPress had first come out. I'd seen it. We got chatting at Bristol Vision. I should have asked you then. What what inspired you to go, right, I'm going to make a huge amount of work and effort for myself and my team and start this annual survey that I'm going to run across the UK. And I believe it's spread now overseas as well. Is that correct?
We've done some work overseas. Yeah,
I
it
thought
has.
you had, yeah. So come on, what's the inspiration behind BenchPress?
So genuinely, it started off as all great things do by accident. So I published a piece of content, and it was a report that had 8 pages, right? So we had a front cover, a back cover, and we had three benchmarks and three stats. Sorry, 3 pages of commentary. And we put it out there. It was just a one-off piece of content, but the response we got was incredible. People absolutely loved those insights, and they asked us to do the survey. So the following year, we took the trouble and effort to do the survey, and we published I think it was like a 16-page report. So we're doubling the pages of the report. That got real traction, and then it's grown and grown and grown ever since. And now we publish 3 reports each year. And we also published versions of those for over 1 million and under 1 million
Yep.
agencies. So it started off genuinely, I had no intention of getting here. I started off as an accident, but it was like catnip for agencies. Agencies really wanted to not just understand how they were doing, how they compared, but also to see what was possible. And that is part of the magic of BenchPress. What is possible, and how do I get to be one of those top performing agencies?
Yeah.
That's why people love it.
I would definitely agree with that. I've been in those rooms where you present the data, and I've been on a table with people that are they're at 1.5 million, and people that are at 5 million, and they're looking at, right, what do I need to do? What learnings can I take away from here that's going to help me on that journey, if that's where they want to get to. So again, really appreciative, sorry, of you getting this out there. So 2024, what a year. What what are the things that were coming out of BenchPress about 2024? What were
Well,
the standout things that you talk about, around a table or whatever? And I'm guessing some of these are probably not the. It's all about the ambition. They're probably not the best news, because everyone knows 2024 was pretty challenging. But what were the standout things in there for you, Pete?
Well, the interesting thing that the themes of 2024 are rolling into 2025. But even as we speak here now, talking in current terms about what's going on for agencies, it's still very much rearview mirror. And I will give you what those headlines, but I'd love to, as quickly as possible, start looking ahead,
Yeah,
because
brilliant.
the stats are pretty challenging. Growth rates were flat, confidence is as low as it's been for a long, long while, partly because redundancies have increased in the last 12 months. Hourly
Yeah.
rates are down, profit is being squeezed, and cash has been reduced. Now, that is not a cheery set of
No, no.
statistics.
I've had better Fridays.
But there are opportunities, because in amongst all of that data, as is the case every single year, there's always agencies that are doing well. And I've always been curious about what is the difference between those that are doing well and those that are just finding it challenging at the
Yeah.
moment. And that's what we share in BenchPress. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We've identified 5 key areas that agencies, that if they focus on, they will get disproportionate results, and they can buck this trend, and we can get back to growth. And that's what we all want to do.
I love that. Let's get back to growth. Okay, so let's turn the rear view mirror like that and forget about the confidence being low. And I mean, hourly rates to me, they just they're still in a place where they were 10 years ago. And I think that's challenging for agencies. Their clients are asking them to do more for less. I think the old AI coming in, I think that's putting pressure on it. But let's park that for a moment. It's that hourly rate and that confidence that really does drive those profit drivers. I know you talk all the time around about the GP and making sure that's running at north of like 55%, but they all do filter down into eventually the cash. So throw them away. They're in the rearview mirror, as old Rafiki said when he whacked Simba on the head. What'd you do that for? What's in now? It's in the past. And let's get back to growth. So, getting back to growth. How can agencies move forward, Pete? What what are the opportunities? You spoke about this in terms of that's what's happening, but out of these come great opportunities. What are the opportunities that you're seeing when you're speaking to your clients, when you're analyzing the data from BenchPress, what are the opportunities you're seeing that will allow these agencies to book these trends, to stand out from their peers, from the competitors?
Yeah. So there's five practical things that we can do. And the first one is to get your whole team engaged, because if you're going to try and do this on your own, it's going to be quite a lonely pursuit.
Okay.
And I remember there's a phrase that I heard in really early stages of Wow. So I set up Wow when I was with Paul, my business partner, when we were 24. And probably 2 or 3 years in, when we were finding things a bit challenging, I went to a presentation and I heard the phrase, we'll probably, everyone will have heard this, culture will eat strategy for breakfast. And the first time I heard that, I thought, oh my God, yeah, that's the reason why. It doesn't matter what we decide around the boardroom table. It's the people and how well we engage them that will really determine our success. So culture will eat strategy for breakfast. So we need to ensure as leaders of our businesses that our whole team are aligned around what we're trying to achieve. And what we saw from BenchPress this year is the agencies that closely align their rewards with with performance get better results. So how can you more closely align your reward system with the performance of your business to ensure that everyone is focused on the same thing? And I've got a really interesting case study for you. In fact, I've been interviewing lots of agencies that are doing this well, and there's some commonalities
Okay.
with
Yeah,
this.
that'd be good.
So the first one is education. So they're really good at helping the team understand the importance of what they're trying to achieve. So
Yep.
let's look at profitability for an example. Helping the team understand that profit's a really good thing. It is the fuel for their journey. The more profit you make, the better people we can hire, the more training we can provide, the more career progression opportunities there are, and quite frankly, the more bonuses and salary increases are likely to happen. So profit is a really, really good thing. Help them understand the importance of what you're trying to achieve. And the next one is to give them personal agency, to show them how they can actually impact whatever metric that they're trying to change. So for one of our clients, they did a really cool thing where they did focus everyone on profit, and they decided to have a profit share scheme. So everyone could impact the profitability by finding new opportunities, by working more efficiently on projects, by identifying where they'd gone out of scope and doing something about it early on. Everyone could impact that profitability. And because they had that clarity and the visibility, they were able to go on a journey with it with the team together and reward the right behaviors. So everyone was focused on the same objective. Every single month they published all of the data within their business, including their operating profit, and everyone got laser focused on that. So there was
Hey, let me
complete
just
transparency.
see. I love that, and we do that here. So what you've described there, we set the 3 year vision of where we're going to go. We have profit share as well. So we we show every month, this is where we're running, this is where the profit's coming from. I speak to a lot of owners who are really nervous about that, really nervous about it. They don't want to share those figures with the team. What advice have you got around that? Is there ways to do that? You know, if I'm there, I'm a 3 million agent. I've got 30 people out there. I'm doing 2.7 million. I'm nicking 15% EBIT, but I'm really trying to drive it to 20%. And you're saying, okay, you need your team engaged. And I love that. You've got to get them on the journey. And then that personal agency, how can you affect it? And actually, we're going to share what that affect's doing. And I go, oh, yeah, I don't want them to know we're making that amount of money. Have you got any practical advice? Because I know that's like an emotional connection agency owners and leaders often have to sharing those numbers. And I'm sure you've seen it, Pete. I'm sure you've seen it.
Yeah, but you've hinted at the answer already, because you said one of the first things that you've done was you shared the vision. So
Yeah.
you've made it very, very clear where you're heading. And once you do that, you can connect people to that. And also, if you can connect people to a higher purpose as well, and the work that you do and the help that you provide people. So at Wow, we talk about we help people to build beautiful
Yep.
businesses. That's what we do. Now, we charge for that. And actually, the income that we generate, the fees that we charge, is quite simply a measure of impact. If we're doing no work, we're creating no impact. So every £1,000 that we charge is a measure of impact
Yep.
within our business. So the team understand that what we're doing here is is creating impact. That's the first thing. So connect them to the vision, help them understand what you're trying to achieve. And then it is all about education and help them understand that profit, because they have visions that, I don't know, well, but actually there's two dangers, aren't there? If you're making too much money, the business owner worries that what are the staff going to think? We're going to be driving off in Ferraris. I don't know any agency owners that are driving Ferraris. Seriously, have a look around.
I
None of
only know a
them.
couple when they've sold their agency, not when they've.
Yeah, yeah. But that's after years and years of
Yeah,
toil, I can assure you, years of
it is.
toil. I don't know any current agency owners who are living it
No,
up.
nor me, nor me.
I've got the data, right? I know how much they earn. So they worry about it the other way, one way when it's too high, and they worry about it when it's too low. So one way you could smooth out those lumps and bumps is to publish things quarterly. But the crucial thing is always is education and context. And when
Brilliant.
you're explaining numbers, don't ever just, email it around or stick it on
Yeah,
Slack. It's really important that you explain, right, this is how we've performed this quarter as a business,
yeah,
and this is what that means. These are the areas that we've identified where we can do better, and this is what specifically we're going to do to improve. That's the key. It's about always about communication.
brilliant.
That it's always about communication.
Sage advice. Sorry for interrupting you, but I know people will be going, yeah, I'm not sure. So I just wanted to bring it in. So apologies.
No, it's good. It's a really good point. These are the challenges that people will be thinking about. So it's important we address them. But that point around clear vision and mission then can get translated into goals, plans to develop your team. And one thing we saw in BenchPress this year, we specifically looked at some really interesting metrics around staff churn and engagement. And something I was really surprised at was how few agencies are measuring a metric called ENPS, so Employee Net Promoter Score.
Yeah,
Because what we discovered was there's a correlation between the employee net promoter score and, well, all sorts of really positive metrics. So
yeah,
higher ENPS equals lower staff churn, obviously higher engagement, but also high levels of profitability.
yeah.
So when it comes, this section is all about getting your team engaged. Well, how engaged are your team? How often do you survey them? And what are you doing with the results? So we survey our team at Wow every couple of weeks. We use a piece of software called Office Vibe. And it's brilliant. It gives us engagement scores across our business. And because we're bigger now with 60 people, we can split this up into departments. And it's like an early warning system for where there's challenges. So, we could see, hang on a minute, the score in this department's dipped. What's going on? And then we can click in, Jay, right? And we can see the 10 levers of employee engagement and see which ones are actually causing the issue there.
Yep.
Because, is it lack of recognition? Is it issues with their line manager? Is it workload? What is it in that specific department that's causing the score to drop? We can address it early, way before it becomes a bigger issue.
Problem. We do exactly the same, Pete. We do ours not as frequent as you. Then we do ours every quarter, but there's 19 of us, so I think there probably economies of scale coming. But we do exactly the same every quarter. The survey goes out and it highlights stuff that we go, okay, well, what are we doing to solve this? And again, this is really fitting in nice with that whole we're here now. We've been looking ahead all the time, looking ahead. Yeah, brilliant. ENPS. Yeah.
Cool. So, and that's a metric that you can easily measure. Now, so that's getting your whole team involved. And the next area to focus on that will really help get you back to growth is an opportunity that's right underneath all of our noses. It's one I know that we're both really passionate about, and it's generating revenue from your existing customers. So, quite frankly, we could all do better at this, right? There's always the next level. And I just think it's a huge opportunity. So
I agree.
Do you know what? I'll tell a little story here because I'm going to go back to just after COVID, and I was chatting to one of our clients, and as was the case for a lot of agencies, COVID made them do some stuff that they really ought to have done before. And one of the things that this client was doing that perhaps they really ought to have done before was pitching to their existing clients. So every week, they would bring their teams together, the key members from each team, the key account directors and head of strategy and head of creative, and they would basically come up with ideas to pitch to a client. And every week they would go in and pitch these ideas to a client. Now, the worst outcome from that is the client doesn't buy anything, right? And just goes, oh, well, that's nice, but we've got no budget at the moment. But you're sowing that seed. And you're avoiding the situation that some other agency is going to go and pitch to them further down the line. But actually what was happening, they were winning work immediately, but they were also hearing from clients, well, do you know what? That bit sounds awesome. I'm going to add that into next year's budget. Thank you so much for letting me know that A, you
Yeah.
can do that and that you're thinking of me.
Just by having a proactive approach
Yeah.
to helping your client. I think that comes back to Pete, and I've said this many times. No one comes to work, finds a bag of money, and think, "I need to give that the wow company. Or I need to give it the agency works." So they only give you that money if you're, to your words, making an impact on their business. And I think what you've described there is being proactive and saying to your clients, how can we make an impact on your business? Because they're only going to buy that idea that you've pitched if they say it's going to solve a problem, drive profit, or save money. That's typically why they're going to do it. So I love that just being proactive and going, what could we give our clients to make a difference to them?
And have regular reviews. So we know from BenchPress that only 30% of agencies are actually having regular reviews with client. 1 in 3, right? So I know. So people are just doing the work and then moving on to the next thing. We're getting sucked into the new business trap, which is really alluring to chase the next thing when there are opportunities right underneath our noses. So
Do you think that's happening? I hate going back to the old COVID word, but do you think it's happening? Because back before then, people were in the office. You'd go and see a client. I mean, I have it now. I can say, look, I'm in your area. Can I come and see you? And they're like, we don't work. We're not in the office that day. Where back in the day, an account director might go and see their client, and while they're in there walking down, they'll see someone go, oh, who's that? Oh, that's the brand manager of X. And then they'll start speaking to them. Do you think that's had a bit of an impact that agencies have now just got to go, okay, we know we need to do this. We need a strategy to actually now execute this across the agency?
that is exactly what's happened. Before it used to happen organically, and now we need to put effort in. So I want everyone listening to this to think about their own business, right? Who's in charge of this, right? You will have someone in charge of your new business. Do you have someone in charge of generating revenue from existing clients? Are you setting targets for that person? And not just revenue targets, but leading indicators, number of new contacts within a client that you've made, number of conversations that you've had, and number of proposals that you've issued within an existing client. And where's that accountability? Are you tracking that every single week? In the same way, I bet you're tracking your new business stats every single week. So we need to have ownership, targets, and accountability. But we need a plan. We need to grade our clients and set rules for them. How we need to be spending our most of our time with our most profitable clients that are most likely to buy more from us. And we need to have a plan for those, like a documented plan. And the other thing I want you to think about, particularly for those grade A clients, right, the ones that with a high propensity to buy from you profitably, is I want you to think about the number of relationships that you have. Because if you have one person at the client side and one person on your side, that's a weak link, right? One person goes from either side and you've lost the relationship. But if you've got multiple people from each side, you can create really, really strong bonds. And that's where the magic happens, because that you can spot opportunity and expand the accounts.
When I've done this with my clients as well, Pete, that putting targets against them and then grading. The grading thing I think is really important. I've also gone grading on them, but then the market sector. So then for all my synergist clients on here, I can help you do this. Reach out to me. I might do a webinar on it if there's a few of you. But what it allows you to do is to say, okay, let's say we're a 4 million gross income target and we're saying 3 million should be coming from existing clients. That'd be about the ratio you're looking for, give or take. If I've got that data in, I can look and go, okay, let's just look at it. Are you heavy in one sector? Are you heavy in one? Like with my clients, I've gauged clients as in sort of treasure, develop, manage, and at risk, right? So you can look and go, right, we've got a load of money in this area, but you know what? There's a big proportion we think's in risk, right? What are we going to do as a business to change that? And so if any of my clients want to reach out, I'll help you do this. But I think that's really, really important. That planning, and then the next bit, and I'm sure you've got things to say on this. I've seen some of the best plans in the world that never get executed. Why is that?
Well, it's accountability and ownership. Always accountability and ownership. So if there's no one in charge of it and there's no accountability, it'll just drift. And so the accountability is a really interesting thing. So just going to just drift ever so slightly off topic, but it's on the topic of accountability. So there was a client of ours that was really struggling with their project profitability, particularly stuff around scope. And they were really scratching their heads because they said, we don't understand it. We're publishing weekly profit reports for all of our live jobs. And I said, well, what do you do with them? They said, well, we email it out to the account directors. And I said, Don't email it out. Have a meeting every Monday in the office where you actually
Yeah,
talk about those figures. And suddenly there was that increased visibility. Suddenly there was great accountability. And it didn't take long, 1 or 2 weeks before the account directors to realize they didn't want to be turning up to that
yeah,
meeting bottom of their league table.
yeah.
So they did something about it. So they raised their game, but it also prompted them to share best practice. So, why is it that this person here keeps delivering on time and on budget? What are they doing? And they started learning from the top performing account directors and the top performing teams, and they built best practice. So it always comes down to accountability. How are you building that in your team? It's just a game, right? But play the game.
Play the game, play the game. Pete, you know what? I'm so glad we've moved this for an extra 15 minutes. I think we should have moved it for another hour. It's 5 to 10, and I think we've only got to point two, and you said there's five.
Yeah,
Just,
should we go to
while
point
we're at
three?
that, I'm going to do something now, right? Pete, me and you love getting together and having a lunch. If I do a draw of all the people that are registered today, and I'll do it live, and I'll pull 10 names out of the hat, and I'm going to take these 10 people to lunch with me and you. Are you in?
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Right, we'll do it after this. Right,
I
okay.
mean, I literally can't say no, can I? I
No, no,
literally can't
and
say
you're
no.
live as well. So I felt quite comfortable asking you because I knew you go, oh, I've got to say yes.
It's like one of those proposals on TV, right? Then do any of them say no? I mean, look, no, I'm up for it. Genuinely, I'd love to do
Right,
that. It'd be
we'll
great
do it
fun.
live. We'll have a hat. I'll put everyone in. I'll pull 10 agencies out and you'll be invited to come to lunch with me and Pete.
Fun. All right, done.
Brilliant. Right.
Should we do point three?
Yeah, go on then. Why not?
Because we've got about 15 minutes left and we've only done two.
Come
So
on, point three.
let's point three. I'm going to have to be succinct with this because it's one of my favorite topics. It's the thing I'm most passionate about, and for good reason. Is I really want agencies to end the profit squeeze that is going on because gross profit for agencies has shrunk year after year. Because what's happening is prices are not increasing. In fact, this year, for the first time ever, we've seen with BenchPress, day rates have dropped, hourly rates have dropped. And as prices are dropping and demand for services are reducing, at the same time, we're still increasing salaries. All of our other costs are going up and agencies are getting squeezed. So I'm going to chuck some stats at you. So we talked earlier about that 50% gross profit target, right? That's the baseline. That's almost the minimum requirement agencies should be heading to.
Pete, I'll be 30 seconds. Just so everyone knows on here, Pete's 50% gross profit has put the salaries, the fee earning salaries above the line. Just
Yeah.
so everyone knows.
Yeah, always. So if you look in BenchPress, it tells you how to calculate it properly. There's a 6-minute video that you can watch, and the number of people I've spoken to. In fact, I can tell you that I've got the stats on it. 42% don't do it properly. So just check. Make sure you put your chargeable salaries above the line, and it counts as a cost of sale. But anyway, that's technicality.
Yeah.
I can tell you that and by the way, it's an important technicality. In terms of that 50%. Only 24% of agencies hit that this year, and that's down from 38% 3 years ago. So it used to be 38% only 3 years ago. It's now dropped to only 24%. So one in four agencies, and we've got to end this. We've really got to end this because I don't like where this ends. There are so many agencies that are working very, very hard for not a lot of money. That impacts cash. It impacts everything. Quality of culture, in terms of the experience, the customer experience, your ability to reinvest in the business. We have to end this, and if not now, then when? But it's got to be now. So
It is becoming a little bit of a race to the bottom
yeah,
in some cases where agencies are chasing the costs because they need the revenue to cover the cost, and they're dropping the prices to get there, and it becomes this vicious circle of spiraling into no profit. So I'm absolutely with you on this, Pete, 100%.
right. And so that's the backdrop. Let's give you some practical tips that will help. So the first thing to say is, as agencies, we need to stop penny pinching in overheads. So you can't save yourself to more profit. That's not how this works. And I know this because overheads, as a percentage of fee income, are running at about 27% for £1 million plus agencies, and that's broadly 3% better than where you'd expect it to be. So the big opportunities in gross profit, that's where the gap is. So number one, measure it properly. We've in this chat, Amy's very kindly shared a video to exactly how to do it.
Brilliant.
And then the next bit is really important. and we could all get better at this, right? It's not just about your total gross profit. Our jobs as leaders of our businesses is to work out where we're making money and where we're losing money, right? And right now, in all of our businesses, yours and mine included, Jay, there are things that we do that make us money and things that we do that will lose us money. And we need to understand those things. So
100%.
we need to, all of us, measure gross profit by client, every single client, by project, by service offering, and potentially, if we can, individual team member. And 11% of agencies actually can do that, can measure profitability by individual team member. But have a think about how granular you can get with this. So at the very least, certainly by service offering, right, and by client, you could all probably give me a league table of your clients by spend, but what about by profitability? Because there might be some services that you offer and might be
Yep.
some clients that you have that are actually draining the profitability. So I remember one agency owner said, so they had two parts of their business. One was data analytics, one was a traditional digital business. At the time, I think one was about 300 grand a month and one was smaller, much smaller, maybe 50 grand a month. And he said, look, the digital business, 300 grand a month is keeping the lights on, right? We did some analysis for them. That was losing money. It was the data analytics side of the business that was actually making money. So that side of the business, the increased revenue, wasn't keeping the lights on. It was slowly dimming them ever so slightly each month that
They
went
were,
by.
they were selling pounds for 90p.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And armed with that information, completely transformed their business. Fast forward 2 years, the data side of their business was 500,000 a month, and they just pretty much dropped the digital. That's all they focused on. And they were a hugely profitable business, and they ended up selling for a lot of money on a really, really good multiple because they had the profit, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Ultimately, profit will determine your multiple when you sell.
I look at by client, by type of work, the jobs within there. I also look at it by market sector as well, because market sectors can have a huge impact on profitability. And if you know that market sector is more more profitable than that, why are we not steering the team, whether it's new business or account handling, to go down that route? Like that's where we make the profit. This market sector, for whatever reason, isn't where we go. But I think what you're basically getting at, if you've got this data, and fortunately you give your clients data, and we've got Synergist that gives our client data, act on the data. Like be reviewing it monthly. Where are we? Where are the things we should be going? So yeah, I'm so with you, Pete. This profit squeeze, I'm really concerned about it, because it's just at the moment feels like a lot of cases a race to the bottom.
Yeah, and because it's happened gradually, a couple of percent each year, it's like that whole boiling a frog analogy. And I don't know whether this is true. The whole, if you put a frog in a load of boiling water, it will jump out. But if you gradually increase the temperature,
It'll stay in there.
it doesn't
Right, do
notice.
not try
No,
this at home.
don't. But obviously, it's that it feels like agencies are slowly getting boiled and not realizing it because, it was only, it dropped by 2% this year. But it dropped by 2% last year and the year before and the year before. And suddenly you're working really hard for not very little reward.
It amazes me as well, not just agencies, but businesses who don't look at like for like comparison. So they're not looking at like at least 3 years, where are we doing? Possibly 5, where are we going to see your peaks and troughs? I think it's just, as you say, get that visibility out there. And also ask that question. If it has dropped by 1% or 2%, is that acceptable to you? Like, how does that emotionally make you feel? Like, that's what I always ask myself. If you put all this effort and all this work and you drop to 1% or 2%, emotionally, how does that make you feel? If it doesn't make you feel anything, you go, that's okay. Well, then fine. But you probably are on that slow decline. For me, it should make you feel something. It should give you an emotional connection to all that fucking work. And we've gone down 1 or 2% from last year.
And this again, profitability is the fuel for your journey. It makes everyone's lives better. So whatever you're trying to achieve, you will need profit to get there. Whatever amazing experience you want to provide for your team, you'll need profit to provide that experience. So that's really important. But going back to your point around taking action, a lot of people are fearful, particularly with some of their existing clients. And I've just got a lovely little phrase I just want to share with you.
Please share.
So when you do your analysis, you will find some clients that are really not very profitable. Maybe they're on really old day rates or old retainers that have just been on for a while. And it's how do you deal with those? So my suggestion is you go to them and you say, look, currently you're paying this. You really should be paying this. If you're a new client now, you would be paying that. How would you feel about closing that gap? So that's the magic phrase. How would you feel? You're not saying, right, we're going to do this. You're saying, how would we feel? And by giving them the opportunity to just tell you how they feel, you have then the opportunity to react. Now, there's a range of options, right? At one end of the spectrum, I know this has happened before. Clients have gone, oh, yeah, look, you guys are amazing. I've been waiting for this conversation. Put us up to the new rates. Fine. At the other end is, look, if this goes up by £1, we're going to have to go out to tender. It's going to go to procurement.
Yeah.
So you, at that end of the spectrum, you have a choice. Do you want to keep working with them at that rate? Say, look, well, we can only hold it for another 3 or 6 months, and then we're going to have to look elsewhere. Or do you just want to let go? But you get to decide that. It's kind of like a no lose gamble, right? Because
Yeah.
what tends to happen is a range in between. Look, could we meet part way? Could we phase up to that level? But you cannot lose by asking the question, particularly if you phrase it in that way. How would you feel?
Yeah.
Jay, to your point, you've got to take action. Otherwise,
You got
it's
to
a
take
waste of time.
action. I mean, I love that. How do you feel? Because it's like permission-led questioning. You're getting them to tell you how they feel. I think agencies are fearful of asking that question for them saying, right, well, we'll go elsewhere. The reality is, going back to what we said earlier, nobody gives you a bag of money. If you're delivering great work for them that are driving profit for their business or making them look good, there's every chance they are going to want to stay with you. You know, that's the reality of it. So yeah, definitely the profit thing, Pete, is huge, and it's something we're all over our clients, like making sure you're looking at your profitability, your jobs, etc., and your clients.
Well, yeah, there's no excuse when they're using Synergist, right? They've got the technology, but
Exactly.
at their fingertips. There's no excuse.
And in agencies, you know, we me and you typically deal in agencies that are like north of million up to some big numbers. When you get down to some quite small numbers, you know, you go, right, well, if you're doing one team, say 3,000 hours a year, if every one of those hours is increased by 20 quid, it puts like 60 grand on your bottom line for free, just by having that conversation.
Just by having that conversation, but something that will really back it up is our fourth point, right? Because in order to back up those higher rates, you have to be able to deliver, and it's such a key part of that is in our positioning. That's the fourth point, right? And agencies really need to position themselves as experts who get results. That's
Yeah.
what people are looking for now. It's not the time to be a generalist.
No.
And we need to really focus on being experts that gets results. And we know this works, right? We've seen from our research in BenchPress that highly differentiated agencies are twice as likely to be highly profitable, and they're twice as likely to grow quickly. So we see in the results that this works. And when it comes to positioning, I'm a big fan of two things, right? Being specialist by what you do. So we specialize in doing this particular thing, but also
Yep.
who you do it for. We do it for this particular group of people.
Yep.
And the narrower each of those things can be, the more opportunities that you have to be able to position yourself as a true expert
Yep.
that truly gets results in that field. And
And
that's the game.
yeah, Pete, I love that. And I 100% agree with you, right? What I see is that doesn't get articulated or communicated very well, internally. So go into that like, this is what we do, this is who we do it for. Right, I'm the new business guy, and I'm now just going over here on something totally different because it's not been articulated internally good enough of what we do. Then when I look externally and I bring the website up and I go, right, well, what you've just told me, this looks like you're a full service agency that does everything.
Yeah.
So I think again it comes down to that these plans I see that are written down and done, but not executed. And I think agencies have I think that becomes that bravery thing again. Like, oh, if we change a website and someone's looking for this, we might not get it. It's not almost like it is. You have got to be that expert that gets results. So for me, agencies, especially at this point in time, have got to really look at their proposition, and they've got to believe it, own it, and then articulate it really well, communicate it really well, both internally, as much internally as they are externally.
See, I know you talk about bravery there, but this is a perfectly logical thing to do. People don't want to buy generalists at the moment. To be honest, they never have done, right? Certainly, they've never been willing to pay premium prices for generalists. So this is an entirely logical, sensible thing to do. I think well, it's just daft to do anything else. So what what's really interesting with this, and your point around backing it up, just do an audit of your everything you do now, right? Every single piece of communication, does that back up your expertise? Does every single event that you're holding, are you inviting people in exactly your niche? What about all the pieces of content marketing, all the thought leadership that you do? Does that really speak to your expertise? And also, are you backing this up with case studies that really focus on the value that you're adding? So, if you're an expert in a particular field for a particular industry, all your case studies back that up. And what agencies need to do, they need to learn from consultancies, because consultancies are really good at this
Yep.
and they get better results. And what consultancies do is they talk about outcomes as opposed to deliverables. So
Yep.
we will increase this or reduce this or solve that problem, as opposed to we'll deliver you a website, we'll deliver you a content marketing campaign.
Yep.
Those are deliverables. Time and things like that. There's just deliverables. It's outcomes. What difference will you make? And then, that case study process starts when you're pitching. When you're pitching for clients, well, what is the outcome that you're trying to achieve? What impact will that have for the business? Almost start writing the case study beforehand, so that when you deliver that work, you know all of the touch points that you can draw on to create something that you can shout about.
I think, Pete, we could do a whole webinar about structuring a new business pitch and all the things you should go. I'm really conscious we're at 10:10 and we're on point four. We've got one more point.
Right. This is really interesting. It's all around confidence. So confidence matters more than we realize. We know this from BenchPress. When we ask every year, how confident are you in the year ahead? We ask people to give a score between 0 and 100. The higher it is, the better it is. Now, we split the respondents into two groups. The confident lot above 70 and the least confident lot below 50. And what we noticed was the confident lot way outperformed the least confident lot. And you're thinking, well, that's not hugely surprising, but they were significantly more likely to grow and significantly more likely to make high profit. So here's the thing, you can't fake confidence, right? But how do you build it? Well, confidence is a deep knowing that you're going to do something. And where that deep knowing comes from is the capability. You know you've got the capability. So all of the building blocks that we're talking about today, if you get those right, that will give you the confidence that you are going to achieve what you want to achieve. So confidence comes from doing the basics. It's from having the right reporting structures, the right plans in place, and then executing it week after week with discipline.
Yep.
So have a think about your own business. Have a think about the thing that will significantly increase your confidence. What is that? Now, that might be a burgeoning pipeline of new business. So then break that down further into the weekly chunks and habits that you need to perform in order that you can see your confidence build. Because if you can see your confidence build and build momentum, then you're going to have a terrific end to this year and fly into 2026.
I love it, Pete. I think that confidence, that capability, once you've got those things nailed down, your proposition, you understand what you're reporting on, you understand what the lagging indicators you're monitoring are, you understand what the leading indicators are. When I see agencies that have got all that nailed down, that's what's driving that confidence, because they know the levers to pull when there's a challenge. Where it's a little bit like, well, I come work, I hope this happens, and then we do some stuff and I hope we make some money. That's not breeding confidence. And this year alone, so we're in month 5 now, but I did this talk in month 4 somewhere. And at April, I'd spoken to 4 agencies that didn't forecast pipeline in terms of revenue coming in, either new business or existing, didn't forecast cash flow, didn't forecast profitability. And I was just thinking, how do you actually sleep at night? Because for me, that would just be like horrendous, not knowing what's round the corner. Because it's okay going, well, it's okay, we're doing really well, I've got money in the bank. I know from experience, 20 odd years of doing this, that can change really quickly. I've been encouraging all our clients, and this talk I was doing around getting your balanced scorecards in place. I think more than ever, you need these things in place for those 4 areas. You need to know what are going to be your lagging indicators, but more importantly, what are those leading indicators you're going to monitor, and how are you going to, as leaders, promote, drive, encourage those day-to-day behaviors that actually make that happen. And I think that for me, Pete, is what builds that confidence. So yeah, number 5, amazing. Right, we're at 10:14. I've gone over, Pete. We could go for another hour. I know we could. Before our A game guests go, we always ask one sage bit of advice. One thing you'd say after this today, what would it be?
Very simple. So right now there is a load of stuff going on that is beyond our control, not least what's going on in the economy.
Yeah,
So what I encourage you to do is write down a list of stuff that you can't control, but then crucially write down a list of things that you can control.
love
And
it.
then of those, which one of those is going to make the biggest difference to your business? Focus on that disproportionately, create a plan, take action, and you're going to be in a great place.